What up, peeps? It's your boy Heckin Steve. Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk to you about physical collecting, physical versus digital. So, the thing about digital collecting is I'm not necessarily against it, okay? I know that people like to say, well, they could take the game away, they can make it to where you can't play it. And honestly, I feel like with online gaming, especially with modern stuff like this, you know, they could just update the system and make it unplayable. I'm pretty sure they did that with Concord, or at least like when you turn it on, the servers don't work, so you don't get to play it anyways. And now you're just stuck with a physical game that's essentially worthless, or at least it should be worthless. But I believe resellers and all that have made it worth something. But in my last video talking about don't let video game collecting ruin your life, I forgot to mention as a kid, you know, the rental store was like the casino for a poor kid. So I did do a lot of renting of video games, and sometimes I'd rent the same games over and over. We had a little place called Shows to Go, and then later on, you know, we would use Hollywood Video and sometimes Blockbuster, but Blockbuster was always the most expensive to rent from. So I definitely wanted to bring that up. But between physical and digital now, two things. So like with modern gaming, the reason that I collect physical modern gaming is because I collect the retro stuff. And I don't necessarily like to hyper focus on buying games digital while also buying retro games physical. I figured might as well just do it all. And as I previously mentioned before, it was for a backdrop piece. I want the game so I could play them anyways. So it was like a win-win to like have it physically for a backdrop and also just to be able to play the games. Now, the retro stuff, that's a little different, you know, as far as collecting that goes. So a lot of people, they usually say like, I collect physical retro games because I want to preserve, you know, or, you know, collect these games that are no longer available to play on modern consoles. And we have seen a lot of retro games come over to modern consoles, but that's not the reason that I collect retro games. Because if I really just wanted to play the game, I could just emulate it. And if I ever did, that's probably what I would do, is I would, instead of like pulling, you know, Metal Gear Solid off the shelf here, I could either play it on the PS5, which is slightly better, or I could upscale it on, what is it, DuckStation, to like 4K 60, and it would look way better than, you know, playing this natively would. But if I ever wanted to play the way that it used to be, it's right here. And I have multiple ways of playing Metal Gear Solid. I think the only version of it that I don't own is on Windows, and I just haven't bought it yet, but that would be easily attainable thanks to GOG. But I don't own this because I want to preserve it, you know, because obviously eventually the disc will rot. It is really important to be able to have the manual and all of that, but it's not necessarily the item that makes me want to collect it, because there are plenty of items that I still want, and there are plenty of items that I have now that I've never had before. You know, like I never had owned a copy of Dino Crisis 2. I think I had rented it, you know, back in the day, or borrowed it from a friend. So I'm not really nostalgic for this, but I think that doesn't really matter, because the reason that I like to collect physical retro games, and, you know, it would have to be a good reason for me to do that, you know, with everything being so expensive, and I'm not trying to drag it out, but the reason that it's important to me personally, like I said, it's not the item, it's because it reminds me of hanging with my best friend, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, or older, you know, for different games like Halo, wherever it is. Oh yeah, that's right, my original Xbox games are down here. So it reminds me of that time in my life where I didn't have to worry so much about paying bills. I didn't really have to worry so much about anything other than having a good time. And this was before I knew how horrible it was to be an adult, because, you know, it's very, you know, stressful and challenging and busy. So it's not necessarily the item, but the feelings and the memories that you get when you look at this. You go, yeah, man, I remember as a little kid, I was watching my buddy play the game, and I was sitting there reading the manual to the game, and we were having a great time. We stayed up all night, and then, you know, in the morning we had some Captain Crunch for breakfast, or, you know, whatever it may be. But the thing is you don't need this item to experience that nostalgia. You know, you could just remember it in your head. Then again, making the object useless for that purpose. But the thing is, it makes it more real to have it, because it proves to yourself that you did experience that. And there was a time when this game was brand new and sealed and sat in a store and waited for you to buy it. Not this particular copy, because I bought this secondhand, but for those that have never gotten rid of any of the games in their collection, you know what I'm talking about. And I think that when you have these items that are from long ago, or, you know, remind you of long ago, like this, you know, not a very good wrestling game, by the way, but having the item proves to your mind that you were there, man, and you had a great time, and life was so much better back then. You know, not to say like life is bad now. I mean, there's a lot of new technology and stuff that has made life a lot easier for people, but nothing is ever gonna hit like when you got this demo disc out of a magazine. So physically having it, you can pinpoint in your mind, you're like, yeah, dude, we had it so good and we didn't even know. So yeah, I don't collect physical games because preserving physical media, because that's eventually going to go away. It's because it reminds me that I was there. And maybe that's not a good reason, or maybe it's kind of cheesy, because it's like, come on, man. You telling me if you play Gran Turismo 2 on the PC emulated that it's going to make you not feel as nostalgic as actually having it? And honestly, I would say to that, it wouldn't, because if I were to play, you know, one of these PS1 games, it probably would be on the computer, emulated, because that's a better experience for me now. So, for those collectors that collect and they don't actually play everything that they have, people throw shade, and I've probably done that in the past too, out of like grief or anger in the moment. But I get it, you know. If you're collecting things that you used to have as a child, you don't necessarily need to play them for it to mean a lot to you, because you've already been there and done that. Like Blue Dragon, I've played this. I definitely want to own it physically, but I actually own this digitally too on the Xbox store. But when I was a kid, you know, when everybody was a kid, unless you're 10 years old, you know, the only way that you could get games back in the day, you know, was to physically have the disc. Now 360 and PS3, that's when that started changing, you know, because you could download a whole game, save it to your hard drive. But for everyone else, you know, this is how it has been, and this is how it is, and old habits are hard to break. And honestly, like, if you spend so much money on games, it's just going to be more satisfying in your mind to say, here it is, you know, as opposed to, here's the app, that's what I have on the Xbox, you know, or to only have digital games. Not to shit on digital games, because I have plenty of digital games too, and a lot of them I own physically, and some of them I don't, that I intend to buy eventually, but I'm not in any rush, because, you know, you just wait for a cheaper price since I already own the game and can play it. But yeah, guys, I think that's everything that I wanted to say in this video. I appreciate you guys watching. I had no idea that the Don't Let Video Game Collect and Ruin Your Life video was going to do so well. Honestly, I thought it would be like a throwaway video. Not to disrespect that video or anyone that likes it, or, you know, me. But it was just a point and shoot kind of talk in front of the camera video with minimal editing, And I guess that just goes to show you that just being yourself and sharing your own ideas and opinions unscripted with people on the internet is better than trying to plan and write something out and stuff like that, even though sometimes that could be very fun too. But appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.